factors which will actually affect into in a across portfolio of business as far as CDO is concerned, because CIO we are all aware of.
If I can try to take that, I think a lot of the conversation of the CDO is really not around how. It's around what is the impact of digital on your job. So when the CDO meets a CEO, he's saying, what is the impact of digital on our industry globally? So if I am as the CEO of a manufacturing firm and my CDO comes to me, I don't want him to tell me about incremental efficiencies in cost. I want him to tell me who is disrupting my industry, what is happening in digital in my industry, how will that affect my competitive position globally. Now when the same CDO goes to the CFO, he's talking about, okay, what is the impact this can have on costs? What is the ways in which you can take cost out of our organization and add flexibility and add speed to market to our organization? When the same person goes to the CMO, the discussion is how quickly can we manage our customer experiences? How can we bring our customers in? How can we bring more customers in? I say there's even room for a conversation between the CDO and the CIO to say how can you modify the way that you do things to be quicker in your response to the business? How can you manage scale better? How can you manage cost better? Because like it or not, significant % of expenditures of an organization go into what one would call slow IT, which was referred to in the bimodals. And the question is really, what can a CDO tell a CIO about how you do technology that makes a difference? In my own experience, I found that if you do not have bimodal IT, you do not have IT. Because you have to be quicker on some tracks, and that's where a CDO has to come in and say, look, this is how long it takes your competitor to bring a new feature to market. This is how long it takes you. You have to do something about it. So I think these are the kind of conversations that I see chief digital officers having. Also, I think there's a very important role of conflict management. Because you see, always when you're successful with some processes on the ground and you want to disrupt them yourself, voluntarily within the company, you're going to get some level of pushback which says, why do we need to do this? And I think a CDO is really responsible for saying, this is why, and explaining that business case for that digitalization or for that digital impact to every function that wants to know, because without their complete support, you can't roll it out on the ground. So that's really my view. Maybe Ajay, you want to take a shot?
Yeah, it's basically about re-evaluating your own products and services first. So when you look at your portfolio of products and services, then you can really build strategy around it, that whether digital is going to help me in which particular segment. There are certain P&Ls which you will see yourself basically. There are certain P&Ls where you will see that they are going to make direct impact. There are certain P&Ls where they will make remote impact. So work with those P&Ls and business units where you see larger impact basically. So that's all I will say.
All right, thank you. Thank you very much. Can we hear a huge round of applause for Ajay and for Vinod? May I request Ed to please join us on stage to hand over a token of appreciation. Mr. Ed Nair, Group Editor at Large. Ladies and gentlemen, we have with us Mr. Vinod Sivaram Krishnan, SVP and CIO, Walmart India, and Mr. Ajay Chabria, Founder and Chief Digital Officer, A3R Digital. Thank you. Can we hear it once again? Thank you very much. And before I move on to our next session, a question in your minds. Suppose you had won a lottery of 1,000, no, not 1,000, maybe 1 crore rupees. What would you have done with that? Yeah, I know, sounds good. Suppose for the men, yeah, no, these questions are coming. Suppose the men find that all the water in the world has turned into whiskey, then what? How was your first date? Now, these are the questions that are going to be asked by Prerna. Now, who's Prerna? Where is Prerna? Is Prerna here in the house? She's not here, but she's lurking in the hall. She's lurking in the corridors. All right, so we would also panelists join us on stage. So we have a discussion out here on stage for about 20 minutes where they discuss impact of mobility on enterprise
is needed everywhere. So we have on our panel people who have implemented mobility in the enterprise across functions, not just consumer side, but also on the vendor side in different processes, right from, credit and risk to marketing to sales and distributors. So, has impacted the organization. So, and, over to you now.
Sanjay, I'm going to put you in a spot today and not ask you about your consumer facing storefronts. Everybody knows about them. You are one of
spot. Um, I would say if you were living in the feature phone world, we were. So I grew up in the times when we. Then can't live without a mobile phone. I mean, I can quote statistics about people carrying three things: their keys, their credit cards, and their mobile phone. I think that is very, very obvious. But I think specifically to Manav's question about how we have used it. So we started Shop Close in 2011. 2011, late 2000. Our Our merchants have a mobile storefront. They can be anywhere in the world, and they can operate their shop 24/7. I think that is a power of mobility. Um, And of course, HR is also a very good consumer of mobile applications. Um, eh, Billing, travel expenses, receipts, pay stubs, all of that. Get
in India. And these guys are new entrants in the market, and I wanted to know, Akash, how do you use mobiles to sell more mobiles?
I mean, we had a problem of how to do this. Once, one way a lot of people did was to focus on one geography. First, be processing power, the features in it. We feel it is as good as any computer, and you can push whatever and communicates in real time and scales up very rapidly. So we identified the right partners who hair they've shaved, and the GPS location is captured, the time is captured. That is attendance. As he said about HR is a big thing. developed, it's an app and it works very well. You can see the data in real time. So this is one example which I could think of. There are so many other things, you know, because mobile. For us, I think we had a better, it was easier for us to do it because we made the mobiles. So getting approval from management to phone and have those tools on them which link everyone together. And I think we are probably 10 to 20% on this journey, because as we go forward, we find that there are so many smaller things that also we could make a mobile app or a tool and integrate it. So I think it is definitely much, much more than just a communication device. It is a computer in your pocket, and it has more benefits than, because things like the GPS location or selfie is like market share in just a year, 2 years. It was not too easy, but these things helped. I think the mobile application strategy did play a very big part in this.
That's very interesting, Akash. You know, is basically finances first-time home buyers, you know, in low-cost housing, and you know and Vilasini, you know, is right now working on a process to kind of get the entire credit onboarding process on mobile. You know, why don't you just talk us through that, Vilasini?
Okay. I think, you know, my first reaction to Manav's invitation was, what am I going to do on a technology panel? But after listening to Sanjay and Akash, I think at the core, it all seems, you know, it's not very different between a financial services company and any other company that's going to go out there and try and get, you know, utilize mobility. I liked what Mr. Shivramakrishnan said in terms of speed to market. I think that's pretty much why we're all, you know, trying to onboard mobility in a big way. And which is why in financial services as well, why not? You know, if you can buy clothes from a click of a button and access so many other financial services as well. So we're doing multiple things at the moment. And firstly, it's operations. We've got most of our operations on the mobile platform, apart from, you know, all our internal communication happening through WhatsApp and Hike and all of that. So it's pretty much a mobile. But the penetration and access to that base, the target segment, is also enormous. You know, that's the revelation that we've had currently, and we want to kind of use it to our advantage and try and reach out more in the space.
So Vilas,
you know, sitting in a Neemrana or sitting in remote part of, say, Rajasthan, he's not going to have access to a laptop over there. You know, at least one member in the family we notice operates on a smartphone. So it becomes that much easier for them to function. And
about possibility of moving some processes to mobile. You mentioned HR processes, vendor processes. Do you see a future where probably all of it could be done only on mobile?
So I'm actually a little wary about all or none. I think there are synergies.